"Behold, Mega City," thundered Dr. Diminish from his laboratory rooftop. "Today, your mighty titanium defender becomes your tiny titanium disappointment." Lightning crackled around his quantum reduction cannon, a device he'd spent 3 years perfecting. The villain adjusted his purple lab coat and calibrated the final settings, his glasses reflecting the pulsing energy core.
6 blocks away, Titanium Defender was stopping a bank robbery when his communication device buzzed. "Defender here," he answered, while effortlessly bending a steel vault door back into place. "It's Dr. Diminish again," reported Commander Wallace from headquarters. "He's broadcasting threats about shrinking you to the size of an action figure. Probably nothing, but—" A bright purple beam suddenly struck Titanium Defender, enveloping him in crackling energy. "Scratch that," the hero grunted, as a strange tingling sensation spread through his body. Definitely something. The world around him began to grow, or rather, he began to shrink. The bank lobby expanded around him like an inflating balloon. His titanium alloy suit, normally perfectly fitted, now felt increasingly loose. "Physics check," Titanium Defender muttered to himself, attempting to remain calm as his height reduced past 3 feet and kept going. "If mass is conserved while volume decreases, my density is increasing, which means—" He tried lifting a dropped coin, now the size of a manhole cover from his perspective. Despite his shrinking frame, he hoisted it easily. "Interesting," he noted, his scientific mind temporarily overriding his panic. "My strength relative to my size is increasing dramatically, just like an ant can lift many times its body weight." By the time he stopped shrinking, Titanium Defender stood just 5 inches tall. The coin he held was now uncomfortably heavy, confirming his suspicion. His mass had indeed decreased along with his size. "Square-cube law in action," he murmured, setting down the coin. "If Dr. Diminish had maintained my mass while shrinking me, I'd have crashed through the floor from my density. But he's reduced my mass proportionally, which means different challenges." Around him, bank customers were screaming and pointing. Their voices boomed like thunder to his tiny ears. Sound waves had a very different effect at this scale. "Everyone stay calm," he shouted, but his voice was barely audible to the humans towering above him. Sound production had scaled down with his size, making his powerful voice into a squeaky whisper. "Commander Wallace," he spoke into his communicator, which thankfully had shrunk with him, "I've been reduced to approximately 5 inches in height. Request immediate extraction and scientific consultation." "Extraction team is en route," Wallace replied, his voice tinny through the microscopic speaker. "Dr. Quantum is analyzing the energy signature. She says to be careful. Different physical laws dominate at your current scale. Surface tension, air viscosity, and thermal regulation will all affect you differently." Titanium Defender was already experiencing this firsthand. A small puddle of spilled water near the bank entrance now resembled a glistening lake. When he approached it, he found he could almost stand on the surface before breaking through. Surface tension was much stronger relative to his size. "I need to reach Dr. Diminish before he targets anyone else," he told Wallace. "His lab is 6 blocks away. At my size, that's problematic. The micromobile is deploying with the extraction team, but it'll take 15 minutes to reach you." Too long. Dr. Diminish could target half the city by then. Titanium Defender needed to move now. He approached a toy action figure that a child had dropped during the commotion. It was roughly his current size, with a small removable skateboard accessory. "This'll work," he decided, detaching the plastic skateboard. He carried it to an air vent near the floor, feeling the strong current flowing outward. At his normal size, this breeze would barely ruffle his hair. Now it was a powerful gale he could barely stand against. Fluid dynamics change with scale, he remembered from his physics training. The air feels thicker, almost like water to me now. Placing the toy skateboard in the airflow, he positioned himself on it like a surfer. The makeshift hoverboard caught the air current perfectly, lifting slightly off the ground. Aerodynamics for the win, he grinned, angling the board toward the bank entrance. The tiny hero shot forward, riding the air current out the door and into the street. Outside, new challenges awaited. What had been smooth pavement to his normal-sized self now resembled a rugged, rocky landscape full of enormous obstacles. Discarded gum, cigarette butts, and gravel appeared as large as boulders. Worse, the afternoon heat was affecting him more intensely. His smaller body had a much higher surface area to volume ratio, causing him to lose heat rapidly. Despite the warm day, he felt a chill. Thermal regulation is different at this scale, he realized. Small animals need higher metabolisms to maintain body temperature. I need to move faster. Finding another air vent on the sidewalk, he caught a fresh current, propelling himself forward. His journey became a series of improvisations, using water running in the gutter as a rapid, surfing on discarded food wrappers caught in the wind, and avoiding the enormous dangers of passing feet and bicycle tires. Meanwhile, in his laboratory, Dr. Diminish was recalibrating his cannon for citywide coverage. Once I've proven the quantum reduction cannon works on Titanium Defender, I'll shrink all of Megacity's infrastructure. Imagine entire skyscrapers reduced to dollhouse size. I could fit the whole financial district in this room. But sir, his principal robot assistant DM2 ventured, have you considered the consequences of scaling down complex systems? The square cube law suggests... Silence, Dr. Diminish snapped. I've accounted for all scaling factors. My cannon doesn't just reduce size, it rewrites fundamental physical relationships to maintain functionality at the new scale. What Dr. Diminish didn't realize was that Titanium Defender had just reached his laboratory building and was scaling the brick exterior, a task made possible by his relatively increased strength and the now rough texture of the previously smooth bricks. The tiny hero reached a window just as Dr. Diminish was making final adjustments to his cannon. The citywide reduction requires exponentially more power, the villain muttered. I'll need to divert energy from the stability regulators. Titanium Defender recognized the danger immediately. By compromising the stability systems, Dr. Diminish was creating a potentially catastrophic situation. Slipping through a small gap in the window frame, the miniature hero navigated across the laboratory floor, now a vast expanse from his perspective. He reached the power cables connecting to the quantum reduction cannon and began analyzing the system. The scaling mathematics are brilliant, he admitted, examining the glowing equations flowing across a nearby monitor from his ant-sized vantage point. But the power requirements create an unavoidable instability. Using his tiny but still powerful hands, Titanium Defender began rearranging connections in the power supply. His plan was not to disable the cannon entirely, but to reverse its effect. Above him, unaware of his tiny intruder, Dr. Diminish prepared for his moment of triumph. Charging sequence complete, he announced dramatically. Megacity shrinking commences in 3, 2, 1. Titanium Defender completed the final connection, reversing the polarity of the cannon's core. 1. Dr. Diminish pressed the activation button. The cannon hummed to life, but instead of firing outward, the purple energy beam reflected backward, engulfing the villain himself. No, 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 Dr. Diminish wailed, as he began to shrink. My calculations were perfect. Your science was sound, the hero called out, his voice now perfectly audible to the shrunken scientist. Your application was flawed. Dr. Diminish spun around, horrified to see his nemesis standing nearby at equal size. Impossible! How did you... I reversed your cannon's polarity. Now, about returning me to normal size... Before the conversation could continue, the laboratory doors burst open as Commander Wallace and Dr. Quantum entered with the extraction team. "The cannon's calibration is unstable," Dr. Quantum announced, rushing to the controls. "If we don't reverse the effect soon, the molecular reconfiguration could become permanent for both of you." Working quickly, she analyzed Dr. Diminish's equations and recalibrated the cannon. The restoration process requires understanding how scale affects every system. When we increase your size back to normal, we must ensure that all physical properties scale proportionally. Mass, strength, thermal properties, everything. Dr. Diminish, now secured in a makeshift containment unit fashioned from a coffee cup, sighed in defeat.
"The mathematics of perfect scaling are enormously complex," he admitted. "That's why I focused on temporary shrinking. Permanent changes require solving scaling relationships I haven't mastered yet." 20 minutes later, after careful calculations, Dr. Quantum activated the reversed cannon. A blue beam enveloped both Titanium Defender and Dr. Diminish, gradually restoring them to normal size. As the process completed, Titanium Defender flexed his full-sized hands, relieved to be back to normal. That was educational. At smaller scales, I experienced physics completely differently. Strength, heat, air resistance, everything changes with scale. Dr. Quantum nodded. "The square-cube law is just the beginning. True scaling involves complex relationships between dozens of physical properties." As Dr. Diminish was led away by authorities, he called back to Titanium Defender. "You may have won today, but you've given me new ideas. Next time, I won't make you smaller, I'll make myself larger." "And create even bigger problems for yourself," Titanium Defender replied with a knowing smile. "When it comes to scale, bigger isn't always better, just differently challenging." Later, in his civilian identity as Professor Thomas Turner, the hero added a new lecture to his university physics course, "Scale Effects in Physical Systems: Why Ant-Man and the 50-Foot Woman Couldn't Really Exist." It became his most popular lecture of the semester.